29th, 1992. Chaos erupts in the streets of Los Angeles as tens of thousands of looters pillage the city. And with emergency services unavailable, business owners were left to fend for themselves. And out of all the stories told of the infamous 1992 LA riots, none have scratched the surface between myth and legend, like the story of a group of Korean immigrants taking arms on rooftops. This is that story.
Hi everyone, Donut here. The wait is over. I finally got around to making the Roof Korean video after years of anticipation. Just kidding, here's Popo Medic.
In April of 1992, 4 LAPD officers were tried following one of the most controversial excessive force incidents in American history. And after the Rodney King verdict was read, all 4 officers were acquitted, resulting in immediate protest.
Earlier, we had quite a scene where protesters did storm the doors of Parker Center.
The protest started out peaceful, but at approximately 4:15 p.m., a group of men approached the Payless Liquor in Delhi on Florence Avenue. The men walked into the liquor store, grabbed whatever the fuck they wanted, and walked out with no intention of paying. 2 of the men smashed the liquor store's front door, and another man struck the store owner's son with a beer bottle, rendering him unconscious. 911 was dialed, and 2 officers from the 77th Street Division of the LAPD responded, finding that the offenders had left upon arrival. And while making checks in the area for the offenders, a young man threw an object at their car. Approximately 24 officers, commanded by LAPD Lieutenant Michael Mullen, arrived and arrested the teenager. But the teenager put up a fight and resisted arrest. The teenager was a well-known minor in the community, further agitating a mass crowd of people who witnessed the arrest. The police formed a perimeter around the arresting officers as the crowd grew more hostile, leading to further altercations and arrests. And fearing the situation could potentially escalate to a life-threatening situation or the use of deadly force, Lieutenant Mullen ordered officers out of the area altogether. And by 6 p.m., the looting began on mass scale.
Rampaging protesters looted businesses in South Central Los Angeles, setting dozens of fires. One fireman has been shot.
The crowd began to turn physically violent, seriously injuring bystanders and other members within the crowd, absolutely polarizing the community and devastating business owners.
It's not right! It's not right! It's not right what y'all doing! I came from the ghetto too! Same as all of you did!
The growing number of rioters in the streets began attacking civilians, throwing debris at cars, pulling people from their vehicles, smashing shop windows, and setting them on fire. The chaos had sent shockwaves into the living rooms of millions of Americans across the nation, as a Chinese immigrant by the name of Choi Si-choi and a trucker named Reginald Denny, who was delivering gravel for the construction of low-income housing, were both horrifically attacked during live coverage of the riots. At approximately 7:15 p.m., as reports of vandalism, looting, and physical attacks continued to come in, Lieutenant Mullen elected to take the information but not respond. Mullen was later relieved by a captain, ordering officers only to assess the Florence and Normandy area. And at 12:15 a.m., Mayor Bradley signed an order for a dusk to dawn curfew, as well as declaring a state of emergency for the city of Los Angeles. And on the following day, by mid-morning, violence appeared widespread, as extensive looting and arson was witnessed across Los Angeles County. The rioting moved from south central Los Angeles, going north through central Los Angeles, decimating the neighborhoods as far as Westlake to Fairfax, before reaching Hollywood. The looting and fires engulfed Hollywood Boulevard, and simultaneously rioting moved west into neighboring independent cities of Compton, Carson, and Long Beach. You might even remember Long Beach native Bradley Noel singing about it on Sublime's self-titled album.
First spot we hit it was my liquor store.
R.I.P. Bradley Noel, fucking legend. From Olympic Street to 120th Street laid the forefront of many small family-owned local businesses, primarily owned by first-generation Korean immigrants, many of whom escaped from North Korea into South Korea before immigrating to the United States. Many of whom were formerly voluntold soldiers who knew how to fight. And the fight came to Koreatown rather swiftly, as rioters moved up north from Florence and Normandy with a newfound thirst for looting. At 11:30 a.m., one employee of a local gun store, David Jew, was working behind the counter when the shop phone rang. It was a phone call from his employer, Richard Park, who owned another store a few doors down. Richard informed David that he was at the nearby shop and in the middle of a gunfight. David locked up the gun store, ran across the parking lot, armed with a Beretta. When he arrived, he heard gunshots, at which point looters from across the street made their way to the gun shop plaza and opened fire on Richard and David. But when the two men fired back, the assailants fled the area immediately. Word quickly spread throughout Koreatown that this method had worked, in not only protecting Richard's property, but his life. Korean business owners who caught word of this began to phone in a Los Angeles-based radio station called Radio Korea, pleading to the radio station's audience for an armed response to help protect their property.
Everybody parked in the street, took some everything, liquor, beer.
When you got here, you said people were still inside the store. What did you do?
Sit inside. I shut 8 times, everybody moved.
A merchant guarding his property. You got anybody out there or just a shop?
Rick Romero out here. All of the merchants here are not going to wait for the National Guard or police or anybody else. You talked about guerrilla warfare, and it's right here, right on the premises here. Just about every one of the individuals in this.
Radio Korea quickly became dubbed Koreatown's makeshift command center, warning listeners of the whereabouts of incoming looters, and offered itself as a 911 system, allowing shop owners to call out for help over the air. After the realization sank in, there would be no response from police, fire, or EMS, already stretched too thin, responding to thousands of ongoing emergencies.
옷가게라고 있습니까? 한일도 옷가게 거기는 남자 옷이에요. 남자 옷가게. 네, 거기 탔어요? 네, 거기가 지금 불타고 있어요.
We need National Guard in here.
We have no police support whatsoever. People are driving by shooting at us, and we have to do something about it.
A local resident by the name of Ina Cho and president of the Korean Veterans Association in 1992 was listening to the broadcast and decided to call in a little broadcast of his own, requesting all Korean Marine Corps veterans to respond to the area. Soon after, a group of around 15 Korean Marine Corps veterans arrived, equipped with rifles, and rendezvoused with Cho. The men responded to a large electronics warehouse, Kim's TV, where Radio Korea was broadcasting that a mob of looters were attempting to break in. The warehouse had an iron door, which the mob was beating and ramming with a truck. When the mob finally took down the door, Cho attempted to stop the looters who were sprinting inside when 2 vehicles with a combined occupation of 10 people got out of their cars and opened fire on Cho, hitting him 1 time. Richard Kim, whose parents owned the electronics store, armed himself with a semi-automatic rifle. As the warehouse was under fire, his mother suffered a gunshot wound while trying to shield his father. And as more Koreans became injured, more and more Koreans took up arms, taking positions on rooftops for maximum tactical advantage. Not only did they have the high ground and could see everything from the roof, but parapets made for the perfect cover from incoming fire. And these firefights were televised.
More familiar with weaponry than I am. He says it looks to be a 9mm Uzi.
Where Korean shopkeepers could be seen armed with M1 carbines, Ruger Mini-14s, pump-action shotguns, handguns, and Daewoo K1A1s. Like, look at this dude's loadout. He's got a red polo t-shirt and a Daewoo K1A1. I mean, come on. One of the most iconic photographs of roof Koreans happened at a small grocery store called California Market. The owner fortified his store with 20 well-armed employees and volunteers, all of whom were wearing white headbands. They were often shooting blanks or discharging warning shots into the air, which is dumb. You gotta wonder where those went, you know? But their methods worked, as looters scattered, fleeing the area as quickly as they could. On May 3rd, after 4 days of exchanging gunfire with armed looters, the rooftop Koreans successfully forced every single wave of remaining mobs out of Koreatown, saving countless lives and livelihoods in which the Korean American identity was born. And on that same day, over 1,100 Marines and 6,500 National Guard troops patrolled the streets of Los Angeles, putting an end to the chaos. If it wasn't for a few brave men who stood up against their opposers, Koreatown would have been unsalvageable. The nearly week-long rioting killed more than 60 people, injuring more than 2,300, and caused approximately $1 billion in damage, half of which was sustained by Korean-owned businesses. Korean Americans have come to refer to the 1992 uprising as Saigu, which translates to April 29th, a day Koreans will never forget. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button. There's a lot more of these videos in the works and you don't want to miss them. So make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Alright, so I was just bombarded with violence. I absolutely love this video. I never got to learn the history of the 90s. This video was just so crazy all around. I cannot guarantee it. I would show this to my mom and dad. I'm pretty sure they had a hint of this history, because I wasn't even born at that time. Being completely honest here, guys. The video was just so great. God, I can't even. Oh my God. That's all I gotta say. Like, oh my God. That was just a lot of damage. And it was crazy for 60 people to be killed and then 1,000 something to be injured. I thought there was gonna be more deaths. But, oh my God. That was just absolutely crazy. Absolutely insane. But yeah, I need to see the comments, because what on earth did I see here? This was just crazy. Yeah, that's a joke, but oh my God, I need a home security system that offers North Koreans as a home security option. Oh my God. It was insane, and I thought the riots today were bad. It was just warfare. Like, oh my God. Wow.